In the mid 19th century, a boy was born into a wealthy family. From the beginning, the boy suffered serious health issues, an eye problem that left him temporarily blinded as a child, a terrible stomach condition that forced him into strict diet, and back pains that would plague him throughout his life. Despite his father's disapproval, he aspired to become a painter when he grew up. He practiced his craft for years and years. Every attempt ended in failure. Meanwhile, his brother went on to become a world renowned novelist. As he entered adulthood, many of his health problems worsened. His relationship with his father fell apart, and the young man began to struggle with severe bouts of depression and suicidal thoughts. Desperate to fix his son's situation, the young man's father used his business connections to get the young man admitted to Harvard Medical School. Fortunately, the young man was smart. He could handle the coursework, but he never felt at home or at peace at Harvard. After touring a psychiatric facility one day, the young man amused in his diary that he felt he had more connection with the patients than the doctors. Dissatisfied with his medical training, the young man looked for other opportunities within the academy that may have suited him. He was desperate. He was willing to try something new and completely something different. He soon discovered an anthropological expedition to the Amazon rainforest. The young man signed on, excited to get away and start anew, to perhaps discover something new and interesting about the world and about himself. In those days, intercontinental travel was long, complicated, and dangerous. But the young man made it to the Amazon. There, he promptly contracted smallpox and nearly died alone in the jungle. He was rushed back to the civilization, and the expedition left him behind. Upon recovering from smallpox, his back spasms returned worse than ever. He was emaciated from the disease, stuck in a foreign land, alone with no way to communicate, and continued to exist in a daily excruciating pain. The young man managed to return home to a disappointed father, nearly 30 years old, still unemployed, a failure at everything he had ever attempted, with a body that betrayed him and wasn't likely to ever get better. Despite every advantage and opportunity he had been given in his life, he had failed them all. The only constant in his life seems to be suffering and disappointment. The man fell into deep depression and planned to take his own life. But first, he had an idea. He made an agreement with himself. In his diary, he wrote that he would try an experiment. He would spend one entire year believing that he was 100% responsible for everything that occurred in his life, no matter what. During this period, he would do everything in his power to change his circumstances, no matter the outcome. If he wrote, at the end of 1 year of taking responsibility for everything in his life and working to improve it, if nothing happened, then it will be apparent that he was truly powerless to the circumstances around him, and then he would take his own life. The young man's name was William James, the father of American psychology and one of the most influential philosophers of the past 100 years. Of course, he wasn't these things yet, but he would go on to become them in large part due to this experiment. James would later refer to this experiment as his rebirth and would credit it with everything that he would later accomplish. So, I want to end this video with a small quote by William James, and it goes like this: the realization from which all potential personal growth emerges. This is the realization that you are responsible for everything you do in your life, no matter the external circumstances. See you in the next one.